The world is a peaceful place until one day everything changes. Monsters appear out of nowhere, and the existence of mankind is at stake. In such a desperate situation, some people emerge as hunters, who are later regarded as the heroes of the world. When the situation gets under control, humanity seeks amusement, and a new sport known as the Hunter League emerges. A boy named Changhyeon Lee makes his way up to the top, and is branded as a champion. But as he begins growing older, he starts messing up, and the public loses interest in him. His team manager asks him to quit being a hunter, even though he is the one who carries his whole team. Changhyeon rages out of his room, and just as he is passing by the road, a truck comes and hits him. He prays to get a second chance in his life, and his wish gets fulfilled, as he gets transported back in time when he has just awakened. He again works his way up to the top, this time with a head start and avoiding the mistakes that he made in his previous life. He is recognized by the world again, and keeps training hard to hear his name shouted by the crowd once again. 3 decades have gone by since the monsters appeared without warning. Humanity was plunged into despair, but fortune smiled upon them when some individuals developed extraordinary powers, allowing humankind to be saved from extinction. Once the crisis was contained and these new realities became part of everyday life, a global sport called the Hunters League emerged. Changhyeon, our MC, was once a legendary player in this very sport. However, this glory did not last indefinitely. Unexpectedly, Changhyeon's performance during the summer season fell short of expectations, preventing him from advancing to the playoffs. In an instant, all of his hard-earned achievements and heroic image in the public's eyes disappeared, leading to his being labeled as a failure. Changhyeon, upon seeing the flood of comments and news about him, becomes enraged and hurls his mobile phone away, shattering it. His manager, seated across from him, breaks the bad news that this tournament might be his last. The president reportedly wants him to step down and concentrate on marketing and business, rather than continuing as a player who is perceived as a failure. Hearing this, Changhyeon becomes furious. He wishes they had asked him to leave the team outright instead of pushing him toward other responsibilities. Although it is true that he had occasionally considered retirement, knowing that the human body cannot remain youthful forever, he finds the current situation infuriating. What Changhyeon cannot accept is the idea of his manager wanting him to become the team's figurehead, despite the fact that he had single-handedly led them to victory every time. As anger surges through him, he lashes out at his manager, overturns the table, and heads toward the door, making it clear that he has no intention of listening to him anymore. In response, the manager, equally furious, hurls back insults, demanding that Changhyeon show respect to his elders. He accuses Changhyeon's behavior of being the primary reason for his tarnished public image, and regrets ever wasting his efforts on raising a player he now considers worth less. Just as Changhyeon is about to leave, he suddenly halts, as if something has struck a nerve. He turns around and with heavy, deliberate steps, approaches his manager. Sensing the rage building within him, the manager begins to tremble with fear. Changhyeon grabs him by the collar, forcefully reminding him that he is the one who brought them to this point. Seething with anger, Changhyeon accuses the manager of pushing him to activate his full bloom back in high school, but it was only at rank C, which permanently stunted his growth. Sweat drips down the manager's face as he weakly argues that he thought it was in Changhyeon's best interest. Ignoring this, Changhyeon slams his manager onto the ground. He threatens the manager, blaming him for all his misfortune, but soon realizes that resorting to violence won't change anything. Recognizing the futility of arguing with someone he deems a fool, he decides to leave. As he walks past the crowd, he reflects on the trophies he has held throughout his life, wondering if this truly is the end for him. All of his skills, such as the all-seeing eye and arcane weapon transmutation, are exceptionally powerful. He is hindered by having activated his full bloom at rank C. This early activation has left him with no room for further improvement. Changhyeon views full bloom as a premature obstacle that blocks his path to advancement. While activating full bloom leads to a significant boost in stats according to its rank, it also means that further improvement becomes impossible. Regretting the mistakes of his life, Changhyeon is about to cross the road when a truck, running a red light, suddenly hits him. He suffers fatal wounds, falling to the ground and losing a significant amount of blood. People at the scene rush to call an ambulance. As he lies there, dying, Changhyeon wishes he had tried just a little harder and yearns to hear the crowd shout his name once more. Addicted to the attention he received on stage, Tears escape his eyes as they close for the final time. Then something extraordinary happens, something that seems like pure fantasy. It appears that his wish has been granted, and he finds himself transported back to his past. The reasons behind this miraculous event remain unanswered, but the ring he was wearing might be the possible cause. A system panel appears in front of Changhyeon, displaying his physical attributes, which are nothing more than average for a player. He finds himself in the Awakener's test chamber. As he wakes up in shock and examines his newly restored body, he realizes he has returned to the same day he was confirmed to be an Awakener. His mother, concerned for him, reviews the results with a worried expression. Changhyeon asks her to leave, and as she walks home with him, she advises him not to entertain any foolish thoughts. Changhyeon asks if she is referring to his desire to become a player. His mom attempts to dissuade him from pursuing the hunter's business, warning him about the numerous challenges he might encounter. She insists that if he truly wishes to appear on TV, a spot reserved only for top-tier players, he should give up on the idea. Changhyeon briefly considers whether he should reveal to her that he is, in fact, a legendary player from the future. However, he quickly dismisses the thought, knowing she would never believe such a claim. He merely responds by stating that he will prove his capabilities. When his mom tries to slap his shoulder, she is taken aback as he effortlessly dodges it. She continues to argue, reminding him that he will be in high school next year and should prioritize his studies. Changhyeon assures her not to worry, immediately starts running, excitement building within him at the thought of what a legendary player like himself can achieve now that he has returned to the past. The Awakener's test that Changhyeon undergoes accurately assesses one's true physical potential. However, its only limitation lies in evaluating a hunter's skills. While hunters can generally speculate about their own abilities and how best to use them, this isn't the case for Changhyeon, who possesses a B-rank all-seeing eye. As expected, his full bloom ability has reverted to rank E and remains unactivated. He throws a punch into the air and suddenly lifts his spirits. His primary goal now is to adapt to his younger body, which feels notably weaker. In the midst of this, he overhears his parents discussing something serious. Curious, Changhyeon slightly cracks open his door and sees them arguing about his future. They debate whether they should allow him to pursue what they see as his misguided dreams. His mother is firmly against it, but his father is willing to give him a chance and tries to convince her otherwise. The discussion becomes heated as his father struggles to sway his mother. Meanwhile, Changhyeon grows irritated by how much his mother worries about him. However, Changhyeon does find himself agreeing with his mother on one point, that a lot can change in a year. With countless players competing in dozens of matches annually, they gain experience and improve their skills with each one. He can't help but regret having activated his full bloom at only rank C. If he had somehow waited, things might have been easier and different from how they turned out. Determined, Changhyeon swings open the door and tries to convince his mother that he just needs 6 months to prove himself. He shows unwavering resolve, promising her that he won't let her down. Fueled with determination, he rushes off to the training grounds. Upon arrival at the entrance desk, however, he is rejected. The lady there informs him that minors require approval from their guardians. It completely slips his mind that he was an adult before the time travel occurred. Now, all he needs is his signature. But the thought of returning home just for that is frustrating. As he racks his brain for alternative solutions, someone approaches him from behind, calling his name and asking what he's doing there. The person is Dojun Kim, and Changhyeon instantly recognizes him from his previous life, as a close combat fighter who frequently placed second and third in the big games. Although Dojun never reached the top spot, he was still leading a relatively comfortable life. However, in this timeline, Changhyeon should know about him, so he acts as if he has no idea who Dojun is. Dojun seems to grow anxious and mentions that Changhyeon is famous for being an awakener and well known at school. Despite this, Changhyeon shatters his hopes by claiming it's the first time he's heard of him. Undeterred, Dojun then asks if Changhyeon is there to audition for the Seoul Hunter Academy's youth club. Changhyeon replies that he only came to use the training facility, but apparently he needs his parents' permission for that. Dojun gladly offers his help, mentioning that, as a member of the club, he has free access to the facilities. In return for this favor, however, he requests that Changhyeon allow him to watch his practice. Changhyeon understands that nothing comes for free in this world, although he finds the idea of being observed a bit annoying. He ultimately agrees, reasoning that he has nothing to lose. The receptionist arranges for Changhyeon to use the training facility, with Dojun acting as his guardian, and directs them to room 3. As Changhyeon prepares, buckling up his shoes, Dojun comments that he never expected anyone else from their school to aspire to become a hunter. He goes on to share that it's tough for him to fit in with the academy club, since most of the members are older, which often leaves him feeling out of place. Dojun keeps the conversation light as Changhyeon warms up. Just before starting his exercises, Changhyeon informs Dojun that he's merely going to test his skills and do some basic exercises, warning that it might be boring for him to watch. However, Dojun remains insistent, offering his assistance since they attend the same school and eager to help in any way he can. Changhyeon inwardly sighs, wishing to be rid of Dojun, so he can practice alone. Nonetheless, he begins his practice session by summoning a tanker clone, a type of training dummy. This tanker clone is notorious for its toughness, making it incredibly difficult to even leave a scratch on it. Dojun, surprised, asks if Changhyeon has mistakenly summoned a tanker clone instead of a regular one. He argues that given Changhyeon's current status, he shouldn't be practicing with something so tough. Changhyeon, however, dismisses his concern with a mocking tone, remarking that punching bags are supposed to be challenging. With that, he confidently takes out his spear. With a smirk, Changhyeon subtly indicates that Dojun has underestimated him. While it's common knowledge that the easiest way to defeat something robust is to strike it with something even stronger, this option is clearly beyond Changhyeon's current level. Yet, this doesn't mean he's out of tricks. After careful observation, Changhyeon identifies the dummy's weak point, its joints. He decides to target them and strikes one, causing the robust dummy to lose its balance. Seizing the opportunity, Changhyeon activates his B-ranked all-seeing eye, analyzing his opponent more thoroughly, and then dashes towards it. He hits another joint with precision, making the dummy trip and fall. Dojun is beyond amazed, utterly surprised by the outcome. He insists that Changhyeon must have set the dummy's defense to its lowest value, unable to believe what he just witnessed. However, Changhyeon dismisses this as a weak excuse, knowing that Dojun simply couldn't grasp what had happened. Despite his doubts, Dojun can't help but praise Changhyeon for his remarkable feat. Dojun, curious and eager, asks Changhyeon if he is trained in sword or spear fighting, expressing his desire to take on the dummy himself. Changhyeon, knowing that any explanation would be futile, simply lets Dojun discover the truth on his own. After Changhyeon leaves, Dojun sets the dummy's difficulty to the lowest level and spends the entire night attempting to defeat it, only to face failure each time. Growing increasingly worn out and frustrated, he realizes that despite his efforts, the clone doesn't seem to take any damage at all. The stubborn resilience of the dummy leaves him both exhausted and irritated. Dojun, undeterred by his failures, continues to try, pondering whether he might be overlooking something crucial. Meanwhile, his senior, Jisoo, arrives and approaches him. Dojun respectfully greets Jisoo, who inquires about his use of the tanker clone. Dojun sidesteps the question, simply stating that he's just warming up. Jisoo, puzzled by Dojun's choice, finds it odd that he is practicing on a tanker clone, and mocks him, asserting that no matter how hard Dojun tries, he won't even make a dent in it, even with the defense set to its lowest. The scene shifts to Changhyeon making his way home, a hint of depression in his demeanor. He reflects on his current weakness, feeling disheartened after testing his abilities against various monsters from the Hunter Leagues, including formidable ones like ogres. These encounters make him painfully aware of how far he still falls short. His all-seeing eye, while B-ranked, lacks the power to deliver decisive blows. His stats are only marginally above those of ordinary civilians, prompting him to decide that he needs to focus more on improving his physique. The only solution he sees is to undergo rigorous training. Unfortunately, he is restricted to using the training facility only in the evenings and must seek his parents' permission every time, adding to his frustrations. As Changhyeon wonders if there might be another place for him to train, he receives a call from Dojun. Dojun invites him to join a training session and even offers to buy him dinner to seal the deal. Persuaded by the offer, Changhyeon agrees and heads to the best hangover soup cafe. Once seated, Changhyeon remarks that Dojun must have a lot of money to offer a free dinner, and Dojun nods with a hint of pride, boasting about his financial status. The conversation then shifts to the high costs associated with becoming a hunter, including the expenses for the Awakener's test and necessary weapons. Dojin emphasizes how crucial financial resources are for pursuing a career in hunting. Changhyeon gets straight to the point, asking Dojin why he was invited. Dojin admits that the dinner was merely a pretext. He actually wanted to ask Changhyeon a question. Changhyeon, curious, inquires if the question pertains to the tanker clone. As he signals for a waiter, Dojin reveals that he is puzzled about how Changhyeon managed to defeat the tanker clone, explaining that he had tried the same approach but failed. Before Changhyeon can respond, he hears some people mocking Dojin. He turns around to see them, and judging by their uniforms, he suspects they might be Dojin's teammates. One of the mockers is Jisoo, who loudly recounts to the others how Dojin foolishly tried to hit a tanker clone with a mithril sword. Poor Dojin, embarrassed, reddens as he hears this. Jisoo continues to mock, suggesting that Dojin must have been trying to mimic a friend, who supposedly defeated the tanker clone by shooting laser beams from his forehead. The group laughs at both Dojin and Changhyeon, calling them fools. As soon as he finishes his drink, Changhyeon slams the glass on the table and tells Dojin that the solution is actually quite simple. He explains that all it took was knowing a simple trick. Changhyeon then turns to Jisoo and his friends, loudly calling them jerks for claiming it to be impossible just because they couldn't do it themselves, while praising Dojin for his determination in trying to figure it out. Changhyeon continues to taunt Jisoo and his friends, asking Dojin if no one in their academy can defeat the tanker clone, and suggesting that they must have used their money just to get this far. Jisoo, visibly irritated, storms over to Changhyeon and places his feet on their table. He mocks Changhyeon, advising him to know his place and threatening that he wouldn't survive a single hit from an awakener like himself. Jisoo gives Changhyeon 3 seconds to apologize, attempting to bully him. Changhyeon takes a deep breath, responding that he only came for a free dinner. He then stands up and with a single punch, knocks Jisoo to the floor. Jisoo's friends quickly rush to help him, their faces filled with embarrassment, as he lies on the ground in front of the entire restaurant. Changhyeon dusts off his hands with a smirk, declaring that he never misses an opportunity to strike first. Jisoo quickly gets back on his feet, fuming with anger and hurling abuse at Changhyeon. Despite the provocation, Changhyeon remains calm, telling Jisoo that although he may be a senior to Dojin, he is just a stranger to him, and advises him not to provoke further. This only angers Jisoo more, who attempts to punch Changhyeon. Changhyeon easily dodges the attack. Changhyeon taunts Jisoo for his claim that he could defeat him with a single blow, suggesting it might be possible if Jisoo could actually land a hit. Undeterred, Jisoo tries again to punch Changhyeon, but ends up receiving a severe beating in return. Realizing he's losing, Jisoo resorts to using his hunter skills in an attempt to turn the fight in his favor. Changhyeon's all-seeing eye detects the danger just in time, allowing him to narrowly dodge Jisoo's gravity attack. Meanwhile, Dojin, sensing the escalating threat, helps the civilians evacuate, ensuring they are out of harm's way before Jisoo can cause any further damage. Undeterred, Jisoo unleashes another attack, this time breaking a section of the ceiling and attempting to drop it on Changhyeon. Once again, Changhyeon barely manages to avoid the falling debris. He declares that he had no intention of going all out against Jisoo, but since Jisoo has left him with no other choice, he is now prepared to finish the fight. Jisoo continues his relentless barrage of attacks, making it difficult for Changhyeon to close the distance. Shifting his strategy, Changhyeon grabs a plate and hurls it towards Jisoo. Jisoo smirks, effortlessly using his gravity magic to control the plate and shatter it on the floor. He mocks Changhyeon, suggesting that he must be foolish to think such a simple trick could work against him. However, before Jisoo can finish his taunt, another plate strikes him, smashing into his face. The momentum of the battle shifts back in Changhyeon's favor as he continues to bombard Jisoo with plates. Changhyeon explains that while Jisoo needs to wait for his skills to cool down, his own tactic of throwing plates at Jisoo's face has no such limitation. Jisoo, battered and disoriented, finds himself overwhelmed and unable to focus. When he finally regains his composure and looks around, Changhyeon has vanished from sight. Changhyeon shouts heads, making Jisoo brace himself for a head strike. Instead, Changhyeon punches Jisoo in the abdomen. Confused, Jisoo quickly tries to anticipate where Changhyeon will strike next, guarding his stomach, but this time, Changhyeon lands a solid punch to Jisoo's head. Changhyeon relentlessly continues to punch Jisoo in the head, until Jusu eventually collapses, lying unconscious on the floor. Just then, Changhyeon hears the distant sound of police sirens. Though he didn't cause the initial damage, he did strike Jusu first, and with Jisu now on the ground, Changhyeon realizes he might be in trouble. Changhyeon quickly assesses the situation and notices that everyone, including Dojun and Jisu's friends, has already left. Realizing he's in a tight spot, he acts fast. He rubs his face to make himself appear injured, then helps Jisu to his feet, splashing water on his face to revive him. After this, Changhyeon swiftly switches places with Jisu and closes his eyes, creating a convincing scene to mislead the arriving police. Jisu, still disoriented and furious, tries to punch Changhyeon in a bid for revenge, but the police arrive just in time. Changhyeon immediately adopts a defensive posture, pleading not to be hurt. His performance is convincing enough to deceive the officers, who take Jisu into custody, while Changhyeon successfully avoids trouble. Hold on a second. Shouldn't there be a security camera in the restaurant? Jisu never disclosed the full truth to the police, as he couldn't admit that he was defeated by a rookie. Even if he had, it would have been evident that much of the damage was caused by his gravity skill. As the scene transitions, Changhyeon is shown training with Dojun. Dojun mentions that Jisu is struggling, and there are rumors he might be expelled from the team. Relieved that the bully likely learned his lesson, Changhyeon nods in agreement. Dojun, wiping sweat from his face, then asks if Changhyeon plans to take a break. Changhyeon simply replies that he has no time to waste and resumes his practice. He grips his weapon tightly and, while leaping into the air, shouts heads. It seems that whenever he accomplishes a random feat, his dormant full bloom ability grants him a new skill. As he shouts heads, his newly acquired skill from defeating Jisu, called Calling Your Attacks, activates. This skill boosts his attack power whenever he either announces his move or declares where he will strike, regardless of whether he actually hits that spot. He never encountered this skill in his past life, and he finds it amusing, especially since it has the added effect of making people wonder if he's a bit eccentric. The scene shifts as Changhyeon finishes his practice and returns home for lunch with his family. His mother asks if he plans to apply for the Hunter Audition survival show. Changhyeon nods, asking his parents to support him, as he promises to prove his abilities. When the registration period begins, Changhyeon quickly fills out his application form. His mother expresses concern about the competitiveness of the show. Given it's on TV, however, his father supports his decision, citing the famous saying that one can never succeed without taking chances. What begins as a simple discussion soon escalates into an argument, with Changhyeon's mother accusing his father of making risky decisions that led to the downfall of his business. Changhyeon interjects, explaining the benefits of winning the show. Not only would he have the opportunity to join a Division 3 team, but there would also be a substantial cash prize and a custom weapon designed specifically for the winner. Reluctantly, his mother agrees to support his dream, but warns him not to come back as a crybaby if he fails. Changhyeon knows that the competition will be fierce, given that the most promising candidates from across the nation will be vying for a spot in the Hunter League. For him, the greater the challenge, the better, as the rewards are substantial, and he believes he might just have a shot at achieving them. For someone who was once a renowned champion, having held countless trophies, this should be a piece of cake. With a firm resolve to rise again to the top, Changhyeon decides to give it his all. The scene transitions to a meeting where sitting at a large table are judges of the show, Hunters, the next generation. Arjo is curious about Min Seok's change of heart regarding his decision to become a judge. While sipping water, Min Seok boasts that despite the allure of international success, his sense of patriotism was his motivation. He goes on to assert that young geniuses could be hidden anywhere in their homeland. Another judge, Sugi Min, dismisses this notion with a laugh, claiming that true talents are already in the pro league. Unlike the academy students, Min Seok counters by explaining that it is the eccentric students who possess the real potential to bloom into greatness with the right guidance. Era, clearly displeased with Min Seok bringing the eccentrics again, remarks that those odd kids need a caretaker, not the league. In response, Soo Hee-ok recalls the past success of a young talent named Ethan. The judges end the discussion, ultimately concluding that their votes have equal weight. The scene shifts back to Changhyeon, who is casually browsing the Hunters League website. He finds himself puzzled by the fact that their written test serves as the first round. The The form requests private information and even unrelated details about personal affiliations. Changhyeon amuses himself with the thought of how it must have been the Academy Hunter's favorite section. When he encounters the first question about life challenges, Changhyeon dismisses it without a second thought. However, the second question, which concerns teamwork, makes him pause to reflect for a moment. He eventually responds by stating that there is no conflict when his teammates follow his lead, just as they did in his previous life. Thinking about teamwork, there's no difficulties if he doesn't let the team think. After downing a glass of water, Changhyeon feels a twinge of hesitation at the unexpectedly challenging questions. Hoping to make up for it with a strong practical performance, he rushes through the remaining questions, but then something unexpected catches his attention. As Changhyeon clicks on the link to the third section, a skill suddenly transports him to a large white room. He wonders who can acquire such a strange skill, while he tries to grasp what's happening. An announcement echoes through the dimension, explaining the rules of the 3-minute clone challenge. His skill will be judged based on the number of waves he can defeat. The broadcast continues, stating that he will be granted any weapon he imagines. After a brief moment of contemplation, a smirk flashes across Changhyeon's face as a pair of guns materializes in his hands. With confidence, he steps forward, ready to take on the practical exam. For a moment, Changhyeon pauses as he realizes that his skills will not work with the pistols. Despite this setback, the 5-second countdown begins, signaling the start of the test. Changhyeon's all-seeing eye glows a vivid red as it immediately begins analyzing the clones being summoned into the arena. Witnessing this, Changhyeon unleashes a torrent of bullets, bombarding the clones with a shower of bullets. Judge Era, clearly agitated, slams her fist on the table as she stands, unable to believe what she is observing through the screen. The other judges agree that Changhyeon's approach to the test is completely unexpected and far from what they anticipated. Flustered, Era insists that anyone could easily dominate the test with a gun, but doing so would be cheating. To reinforce her point, she pulls out Changhyeon's application and exposes his questionable answers to the personality questionnaire, which she finds laughable. Era then picks up a tablet to stress that the other two judges take Changhyeon's nonsensical responses more seriously. Min Si-hyuk nods in agreement. He then elaborates that guns aren't practical weapons for the average hunter. Min Si-hyuk contemplates why Changhyeon would choose to wield a weapon, so irrational for the League or against monsters. It's explained that a weapon disappears unless the hunter channels mana from their own body. Firing a bullet at a distance requires a tremendous amount of stored mana, which is why most hunters favor melee weapons or slower firing ranged weapons. The only exception to this rule has been the genius hunter Ethan. As Min Si-hyuk watches the bizarre situation unfold, he lets out an ironic laugh, declaring his newfound interest in Changhyeon. Era shouts at him in frustration, but Soo Hee-hyuk surprises her by expressing his agreement with Min Si-hyuk. Soo Hee-hyuk argues that Changhyeon is showing remarkable creativity by cleverly exploiting a loophole in the rules. To calm Era down, Min Si-hyuk suggests that they can always disqualify Changhyeon later, before the final selection round. Glancing back at Changhyeon, Min Si-hyuk wonders aloud that the boy might have a different perspective on guns. He chuckles at the whimsical notion, but Era insists he explains his thoughts. Min Si-hyuk then contemplates if Changhyeon truly knows a way to make guns viable, though he quickly shakes his head in disbelief. Despite his doubts, Min Si-hyuk can't seem to stop thinking about him. With an artificial smile, Min Si-hyuk uses his remote to remove a gun from Changhyeon, silently hoping that his intuition about his talent turns out to be true. Meanwhile, Dojun is being questioned by his coach about Changhyeon's recent fight with Jisoo. Dojun responds that his friend emerged mostly unharmed from the encounter. The coach is puzzled by the boy's answer. He is well aware of Jisoo's powerful skill, so although Jisoo was thoroughly battered, Changhyeon seems surprisingly unhurt. Deciding not to press further, the coach shifts the conversation back to Dojun's upcoming involvement in the Hunters League rookie show. Dojun admits that he will be quite busy with the filming. Intrigued, the coach asks if Dojun knows whether Changhyeon is participating as well. Unsure, Dojun decides to ask Changhyeon the next time they meet. The conversation wraps up with the coach urging Dojun to hurry back and prepare for his big show. As soon as Dojun leaves the room, the coach leans back in his seat, his excitement evident. Knowing that Jisoo will also be part of the show, a smirk spreads across his face as he eagerly anticipates Jisoo's reunion with Changhyeon. The scene transitions to the grand stadium of the Hunters League, where Changhyeon gazes fondly at the place where his journey began. With renewed confidence, he steps into the stadium once more. It is explained that the Hunters League has 3 divisions, with the first taking place in a real tower, while the other 2 occur within a virtual stadium. As Changhyeon makes his way to the exam area, memories flood back of how he used to wonder about the stadium's massive size. Observing the rows packed to capacity for such events, he takes note of various candidates. Among them, he recognizes Hong Yeo-yoon, Hee Ju-yu, and Min Se-yeon-jong. Changhyeon feels a sense of surprise seeing faces from his past life so early. Reflecting on who might have emerged victorious among the 3 in his past life, Changhyeon entertains a self-assured notion of claiming victory this time around. However, this smug daydream is abruptly cut short when Dojin calls out to him. Taking a seat next to Dojin, Changhyeon asks about his health. He catches the blonde man off guard, who realizes Changhyeon wasn't hospitalized. So Changhyeon responds to the comment with an innocent smile. Dojin, with a playful glint, leans in and quietly mentions that Jisoo's recovery is expected to take 3 weeks. This information leaves Changhyeon is puzzled as to why Jisoo is present in such a poor state. Dojin adds in another whisper that Jisoo likely wants to make a strong impression since all the professional teams are currently scouting for new talent. At that moment, the cameras start rolling and a dramatic smokescreen signals the commencement of the event. The host begins the Hunters League with a grand introduction, while spotlights illuminate the entire stadium. In the center, the virtual arena gradually materializes, forming piece by piece from a projector overhead. Dojin, utterly captivated, watches with his jaw dropped in awe at the breathtaking scene. The host declares that these young talents represent the top 2% of Korea, and then proceeds to introduce the 3 judges. First up is Arajo, the formidable powerhouse of Korea's Hunter League. You could say she is the mitochondria of South Korea. Next, the host introduces Korea's prominent international representative in the World Hunters League, Min Lee. He is followed by Soo-hyuk Min, a dignified figure from Korea's national hunter team. Dojin, along with the girls in the audience, is shocked and begins gushing over Min Se-yeok's unexpected presence, given that he's usually competing overseas. As these esteemed figures are introduced, Changhyeon views them as equals in terms of glory. Yet, with a self-assured smirk, he inwardly boasts that he would never lose to them. However, his thoughts are abruptly interrupted when the host announces a staggering 500 million won reward for the day's victor. Additionally, the host reveals that the winner will receive a custom weapon from the renowned Mora's Workshop as a bonus. Changhyeon's mouth drops open at the mention of Mora's Workshop. It is explained that items from Mora's Workshop are of the highest caliber, with only the most worthy receiving custom weapons. Changhyeon is filled with excitement at the thought of quickly regaining his past strength with a free custom weapon. Taking the mic, Arajo addresses the crowd, explaining that while these hunters have outperformed thousands of others, the competition remains fierce. With a stern look, she points her index finger at the audience. Ara then announces that the day's challenge will be a survival game set in a real dungeon. The virtual arena, inspired by the Land of the Lost Souls, begins to materialize. She elaborates that only the final 20 survivors will emerge victorious, and those with the highest number of eliminations will earn a bonus for the next challenge. Suddenly, hunters from the audience begin disappearing. As his turn arrives, Changhyeon is fully prepared and grins as he is teleported directly into the virtual arena. The environment shifts dramatically to what appears to be an empty forest. Changhyeon surveys his surroundings and recalls that this location was used for his finals in his last life. His memory flashes back to the days when he painstakingly memorized every detail of the dungeon. A pleased smile spreads across his face, knowing he is already familiar with the dungeon's secrets. Standing tall with a smug grin before a waterfall, Changhyeon begins to strategize his path to domination. In her thoughts, Arajo doubts Changhyeon's ability to exploit the survival game. She grimaces as she recalls his undeserved success in the qualifier round. Ara believes that a survival game tests every skill Hunter possesses. She feels confident that someone like Changhyeon, who Ara considers a cheater, will surely fail this time. Meanwhile, as Min Se-yeok and Soo-hyuk discuss the intriguing candidates, the host's voice captures their attention. A map displays the locations of every hunter and the boundaries of the arena, with a blip moving beyond the red borders. Soo Hee-yeok leaps up and demands further information about the anomaly. At the same time, Chan Hee-yeon stands before a stone wall with cryptic engravings. With a mischievous grin on his face, Chan Hee-yeon stares dead straight at the dungeon's secret room. Completely bewildered, Arajo jumps out of her seat in shock at Chan Hee-yeon knowing the place. It is revealed that artifacts of the dungeon lie behind the mysterious door. Artifacts are hidden treasures that are valuable enough to sometimes guarantee victory upon simply procuring one. Seeing how an ordinary guy like Chan Hee-yeon knows about it, Era grinds her teeth in frustration. As Chan Hee-yeon touches the ancient door, Soo Hee-yeok asks Era to explain if it is allowed, which she reluctantly admits. She explains that not even professional hunters like them in the League know of the hidden area Chan Hee-yeon is accessing. Looks like Miss Mice Judge here is jealous of the rookie. Repeating her words to ensure his understanding, Soo Hee-yeok questions the contents of the hidden room. With a serious expression, she mentions the name of the highly powerful and prohibited artifact in the Hunters League, the Aether. The mention of this name causes both Min Si-yeok and Soo Hee-yeok's eyes to widen in astonishment. They quickly inquire whether it is possible to remove the artifact during the match. Era explains that Chan Hee-yeon would be able to fully utilize it, only if the VR match is completely stopped. Regaining his composure, Min Si-yeok remarks that a guardian must protect such a powerful artifact. It's clarified that guardians are monsters with strength equal to the artifact they guard. Era's face lights up at this information, prompting her to decide to look up details about the Aether's guardian. Meanwhile, behind the doors of the hidden room, a cube emitting a brilliant sky blue light is visible within the vast, cave-like space. By flipping a concealed lever, Chan Hee-yeon enters the hidden room. Taking in the impressive architecture, turns his attention toward the path that leads to the Aether's guardian. Though his memory isn't clear, Chan Hee-yeon anticipates defeating the guardian. As he approaches the Rubik's Cube, his hand instinctively rests on his sword's hilt, ready to draw at any moment. The cube, sensing an intruder, emits a blinding light that Chan Hee-yeon is already prepared for. A destructive blue beam shoots toward him, and Chan Hee-yeon turns pale as he narrowly dodges it, relying on his past experience fighting the Guardian. He reflects on how the artifact was originally identified as a relic in ancient ruins. Fortunately, in his previous life, he had managed to discover and use it during a match, which allowed him to secure an easy victory with the banned artifact. Drawing his virtual sword, Chan Hee-yeon activates his weapon transmutation skill, molding it into a shape that suits his needs. Confident that he can exploit the same tactic in this match, he charges toward the Guardian. Leaping over the contraption, he expertly strikes at the gaps between its faceplates, his weapon now transformed into a crowbar. Smoothly extracting one of the plates, Chan Hee-yeon retreats to a safe distance. Seated on the floor, he takes a moment to appreciate that the Guardian is not a living monster. Since the machine has a fixed attack pattern, Chan Hee-yeon can utilize his familiarity to his advantage, ensuring an easy victory. Using its pieces, the cube morphs into two large hands, attempting to crush Chan Hee-yeon. Relying on his precognition, Chan Hee-yeon effortlessly leaps out of the attack's path. As he wipes the sweat from his brow, relieved to have narrowly escaped once again, he notices the hands beginning to crack. They emit a final, fading light before collapsing. A satisfied grin spreads across his face, knowing he successfully executed a clever trick during the cube's attack. Chan Hee-yeon had cleverly tossed the extracted faceplate between the two hands. Like an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, the cube self-destructs. Unable to crush his own body, holding a ruined fragment of the impressive ancient technology, Chan Hee-yeon approaches his long-awaited artifact with a sense of triumph. He walks toward the glimmering golden chest, resting on a pedestal between two golden pillars. With a smile, Chan Hee-yeon opens the chest, feeling a sense of reunion with the artifact, even though it's just a virtual replica. Inside the chest lies the bright orb of powerful, swirling energy, just as Chan Hee-yeon anticipated. Holding the Aether, Chan Hee-yeon prepares to enchant his weapon with the artifact, but he is caught off guard by the blue lights that suddenly envelop him. Instantly excited, he recognizes what they signify. As a reward for defeating the powerful Keeper, Chan Hee-yeon is granted a skill by his still unawakened full bloom. Eager to test this new skill, Chan Hee-yeon materializes his signature pistol, which allows him to summon a replica Aether on demand. Firing his dual pistols, he creates bullet holes in the stone wall of the room. Confident that he'll soon be able to wield his pistols with full power, A satisfied smile appears on Changhyeon's face. Changhyeon remembers that he was able to shower his foes with bullets in his previous life. This was thanks to his full bloom skills activation, boosting his mana stats sky high. Despite full bloom not being activated this time, Changhyeon figures he could use his gun with his aether replication skill. Looking closely at the bullet holes, he realizes they would serve well defensively. With a devilish grin, he finds the outcome highly satisfactory. Meanwhile, observing the scene through a screen, the three judges are left speechless by what they witness. Era, keeping a hand over her mouth, struggles to contain her astonishment at how Changhyeon has planned to use the aether. Min Seok interrupts her, voicing his confusion about how Changhyeon managed to dodge the light-speed laser beam at the start. He theorizes that since the Q isn't a living creature, it likely has a fixed attack pattern. Despite this, Era argues that not even the pro hunters are aware of this, let alone an ordinary rookie. She concludes that Changhyeon likely possesses a precognitive skill. Closing her eyes, Era reflects on how he cunningly used the cube's broken piece to defeat it. Frustration fills Era's eyes as she recalls Min Seok's remark about how the eccentric ones often achieve great feats with the right guidance. Realizing he was right, she grinds her teeth in annoyance. The scene shifts to Han Yul-yoon, who is in the forest, having secured first place with 17 kills. Satisfied, he notes that the scores match the Academy's analysis team's predictions. Han Yul leaps from tree to tree, waiting for the match to conclude, fully confident that no one can surpass him. However, his attention is suddenly captured by the sound of gunfire. The scene shifts back to Changhyeon somewhere in the forest. He realizes that time is running out, as the match will soon end after 60 eliminations. Studying the scoreboard, Changhyeon calculates that he could barely secure first place if he manages to eliminate all the remaining candidates. Regardless, recognizing the impracticality of finding everyone, he resigns himself to aiming for the 5th position. As he resolves to take out as many candidates as possible, Changhyeon spots a suspicious hooded figure hiding in the tall grass. It turns out Jisoo is hiding in the shrubs, waiting to launch a surprise attack on an unsuspecting hunter in yellow. Using his gravity skill to overpower the passerby, Jisoo swiftly eliminates the unfortunate guy. As he approaches the crater with a villainous grin, he suddenly feels a hand on his shoulder. Startled, he turns to find Changhyeon, who mockingly scares the life out of him. "Oi, Jisoo, it's not much fun when you're the one getting jumped, eh?" Instantly recognizing who it is, Jisoo's pupils burst from fear as he falls on his rear. With a ghostly expression, Changhyeon requests the pale Jisoo's assistance. Standing up furiously, Jisoo threatens and curses Changhyeon. Irked by his words, Changhyeon gives Jisoo a chilling glare. But in an abrupt shift of mood, Changhyeon dismisses the insult and repeats his request. Infuriated, Jisoo's gloved hand glows purple as he tries to surprise Changhyeon with a gravity attack which he swiftly dodges. Changhyeon observes the skill, noting how useful it could be for him. If Jisoo simply uses it to incapacitate the hunters in a wide area, Changhyeon can smoothly jump in and execute them. However, noticing the fear in Jisoo's eyes, Changhyeon realizes that convincing him won't be simple. So, he devises a mischievous plan to persuade Jisoo through sheer force, bullying him with a barrage of gunshots. After being thoroughly battered, the dejected Jisoo finally yields to Changhyeon. When asked what Changhyeon wants, Jisoo refuses outright upon learning that he must team up with his adversary. To convince him again, Changhyeon innocently smiles as he materializes his pistol, firing a warning shot next to Jisoo's feet. Changhyeon then places the gun against Jisoo's temple, threatening to kill him unless he cooperates. Faced with no other choice, Jisoo reluctantly asks what Changhyeon wants him to do. An evil grin appears on Changhyeon's face as he begins to craft a villainous plan. The scene shifts to two hunters crossing blades somewhere in the forest. Unbeknownst to them, two shadows approach and they suddenly plunge to the earth. The sound of two gunshots echoes through the forest, marking Changhyeon's double kill. To the surprise of the rival duo, a sword, hurled by an unseen pursuer, suddenly flies toward them. Jisoo intercepts it in mid-air, using his skill to halt its momentum. A group of 4 hunters, led by a disgruntled Han Yul-yoon, approaches him. It becomes clear that the Hunters League is a team-based competition, acknowledging that not all hunters possess offensive abilities. And although Jisoo ranks 3rd in eliminations, his skill is ultimately intended to provide support in battle. The focus shifts back to the judges, recalling Chang Hee-yeon's first encounter with Jisoo in the forest. Stu Hee-hyuk, analyzing Jisoo, wonders if Chang Hee-yeon will be the one to end Jisoo's impressive killing spree. Era disagrees, believing that Chang Hee-yeon would have already eliminated Jisoo if he had intended to do so. The judges speculate on what the two might be discussing. An idea quickly crosses Era's mind that Chang Hee-yeon could greatly benefit from Jisoo as a supporter. Min Si-yeok considers that Chang Hee-yeon likely has no knowledge of Jisoo's skills unless he possesses the ability to read others' skills. Finally, he decides not to overthink, while Era points out the perfect synergy between the two contestants. Soo Hee-yeok agrees that the strategy is excellent, but can't help grinning mischievously. He points out that executing it smoothly against tough opponents like Hong Yeol is not feasible, glancing at the screen where Hong Yeol is displayed. The scene then shifts back to the rival duo, as they face off against the group of 4 hunters, led by Hong Yeol himself. Chang Hee-yeon assesses his current situation, internally noting that the best way to gain an advantage in battle is by outnumbering the opponent. He concludes that his opponents likely believe that despite Jisoo's strength, his skill is merely supportive. This makes it seem impossible for Chang Hee-yeon to secure a victory. However, Chang Hee-yeon chuckles, having already anticipated his opponent's line of thinking. He leaps into the air, effortlessly dodging the homing sword aimed at him. Feeling a surge of excitement, he commends Hong Yeol for making him feel this thrill after such a long time. Meanwhile, Hong Yeol recalls his sword and coldly remarks that he is only attacking Chang Hee-yeon because of his strange yet dangerous weapons. Telling Chang Hee-yeon not to take it personally, Hong Yeol hurls his sword at him once more. As Chang Hee-yeon returns fire, he recalls that in his previous life, Hong Yeol could telekinetically control multiple blades simultaneously. Chang Hee-yeon laughs, knowing that the barrage of bullets raining down on Hong Yeol now makes it impossible for him to use that ability. Forced to take cover behind a tree due to the relentless gunfire, Hong Yeol impresses Chang Hee-yeon with his quick thinking, as he doesn't know this side of him. However, Chang Hee-yeon's thoughts are interrupted by a hooded figure attempting to slash at him. He skillfully dodges the attack and strikes the attacker's wrist with his gun, criticizing the amateur hunter for still having much to learn. Chang Hee-yeon firmly instills in the hunter's mind the lesson that if someone gets close to a guy with a gun, the shot never misses. After eliminating the hunter, he swiftly moves deeper into the forest, using his all-seeing eye to spot the red silhouettes of the other contestants. Determined, he decides to rack up as many kills as possible, until Hong Yeol emerges from hiding. Leaping above a hidden opponent in the bushes, Chang Hee-yeon eliminates him with a precise mid-air flip. His next target, a girl armed with a bow, goes pale with shock before being mercilessly executed by Chang Hee-yeon. With 7 kills secured, he lands and spots his final prey. Hong Yeol-yoon, a glowing blue bullet flies toward Hong Yeol, who skillfully deflects it with his telekinetic sword. The floating sword falls to the ground, causing Hong Yeol to click his tongue in frustration. He recalls the sword like a boomerang, glaring coldly at his opponent. Meanwhile, Chang Hee-yeon, playfully juggling his pistol, unleashes a volley of bullets toward Hong Yeol, who skillfully deflects them. Chang Hee-yeon admires Hong Yeol's skill, even though the bullets are slow due to his low mana reserves. Despite this, Chang Hee-yeon remains unwavering, asserting his superiority over Hong Yeol as an undeniable fact. The sword user continues to deflect the mana-infused bullets with ninja-like precision, but Chang Hee-yeon refuses to relent in his assault. Using his all-seeing eye, Chang Hee-yeon spots one of his deflected bullets and sneaks in another shot. The new bullet collides with the deflected one, altering its trajectory back toward its target, Hong Yeol. With a villainous smile, Chang Hee-yeon's glowing eyes shine with the satisfaction of nearly conquering Hong Yeol. However, a loud siren abruptly ends the match. An announcement echoes throughout the arena, declaring that the final 20 survivors have been selected. This marks the conclusion of the survival round. Chang Hee-yeon feels a pang of frustration, having missed the satisfaction of eliminating the top player Hong Yeol-yoon by mere milliseconds. The focus shifts to the 3 judges overseeing the Hunters League. Era commends the survivors, bestowing upon them the right to call themselves true hunters. These are the ones who have emerged victorious from thousands of other awakeners. Min Si-yeok chimes in, noting that while many believe a hunter's goal is to win leagues, the true hunter of today is one who stands on par with the progenitors. the true hunters who brave the front lines of dangerous dungeons. Broadcasted on TVs everywhere, Min Seok declares that the survival game offered a genuine glimpse into the essence of hunting. He concludes his speech by informing everyone that the next match will be held 1 week later, urging the candidates to sharpen their skills until then. As Min Seok wishes everyone good luck, Changhyeon grits his teeth, with his eyes fixed on the final rankings. The final scoreboard displays everyone's kills, with Changhyeon positioned in 5th place with 7 kills. Disappointed by his performance, Changhyeon begins to accept the reality of the situation. Well, at least he didn't fail. That would be embarrassing. However, his attention is abruptly diverted by a notification. The panel announces that he has fulfilled the conditions for the full bloom skill, granting him the ability to materialize an Aether replica on demand. Before he can fully savor this achievement, Dojin drapes an arm over his shoulder, congratulating him on his 5th place finish. With an exaggerated smile, Changhyeon asks about Dojin's performance. He confirms his success, but quickly shifts the conversation to the popularity of Changhyeon's guns. When asked how he acquired them, Changhyeon maintains an air of mystery, dodging the question. Despite Dojin's persistence for details on the technique, he is interrupted by a voice from behind. A man approaches Changhyeon, informing him that he should prepare for his interview. Now seated in his studio, Changhyeon prepares for his interview. The journalist begins by asking about his motivation for becoming a hunter. Acting innocent, Changhyeon responds with a savage answer, claiming that there is no better candidate than himself. Surprised by Changhyeon's reply, the journalist offers him congratulations. The next question concerns Changhyeon's opinion of the survival game. He humbly admits that he could have performed better, but is satisfied with having passed as expected. When asked if he considers any of the other hunters as rivals, Changhyeon denies it. Inwardly, he worries about Hangyeol, viewing him more as a formidable challenge than a rival. The journalist, intrigued by Changhyeon's boasts, questions why he only came in 5th if he is so strong. Exceeding expectations, Changhyeon confidently brags that dominating from the very start would not be fun. This pretentious response leaves the 2 interviewers momentarily at a loss for words. Nevertheless, the journalist breaks the silence and smoothly transitions to the next question. The scene shifts to Changhyeon later in the cafeteria. He notices Dojin looking upset and asks what's bothering him. Dojin, agitated while eating his soup, reveals that his interview didn't go well either. The interviewers kept comparing him to Jizu, which clearly frustrated him. A frown forms on Changhyeon's face as he realizes that the interviewers try to pressure Dojin into speaking poorly about his senior. Dojin then admits that when asked if Jisoo was his rival, he gave Changhyeon's name instead. Seeing the bright smile on Dojin's face, Changhyeon inwardly wishes Dojin had just given in to the pressure. Dojin then catches Changhyeon off guard by asking about his interview. Changhyeon explains that the questions were pretty basic, like who he thought would win and so on. Curious, Dojin presses further, asking about Changhyeon's answers. Changhyeon nonchalantly replies that he, of course, named himself as the obvious winner. Dojin then reveals his own choices, Hangyeol Yoon and Hee Ju-yu, noting that they are exceptional even among the top rankers in the academy. Thinking of the 2 aces of their team, Dojin claims they are skilled enough to compete in professional leagues. He adds that Changhyeon would likely agree if he saw the 2 in person. However, Changhyeon interrupts Dojin's glorifying speech with a frown, chastising him for thinking that the top hunters are far above him. Dojin's jaw drops at Changhyeon's sudden burst of emotion. As Changhyeon takes his tray away, he advises Dojin to abandon his inferiority complex, warning that he will never surpass those he looks up to if he doesn't. After giving his 2 cents, Changhyeon tells Dojin that he's going to practice first and leaves. Dojin is left dazed. As he walks away, Changhyeon admits to himself that he was harsh on Dojin, but only for his betterment. Reflecting on the concept of talent, Changhyeon believes that, aside from a select few, everyone starts out on equal footing. In his view, only those who set their sights on the top achieve great heights. Sipping his drink, Changhyeon thinks inwardly that underestimating himself will only set Dojin up for failure at a young age. However, his thoughts are interrupted by a hand on his shoulder. Turning to see who it is, he notices an overly excited guy. The energetic newcomer, Hanjin, eagerly asks for Changhyeon's name, and continues to ramble on about his experience fighting Han Yeol and Changhyeon's fight with him. Changhyeon gives his name, and then asks Han what sparked his interest in him. Han excitedly explains that Han Yeol was flustered at the end of their fight, all while Han Yeol stands right behind him. Grabbing Han by the collar, Han Yeol apologizes for his friend's behavior and drags him away, even as Han continues trying to ask more questions. Picking at his ear, Changhyeon feels puzzled by Han's curiosity, thinking he didn't do anything particularly special. As the two academy friends leave, Changhyeon uses his all-seeing eye to appraise Han Yeol and Han's stats, noting that their abilities are nearly double his own without activating his full bloom. Changhyeon reflects on how the Ether artifact helped him in the first round, but realizes that without it, he will face a tough challenge against the top rankers. The scene shifts to the host of the Hunters League, who announces the start of a new episode while the judges discuss Han Yeol-yoon. Soo, Hee-hyuk, and Ura watch Han Yeol's interview, where the top student from Seoul Private Academy poses with his sword. When the interview begins, Han Yeol explains that it was his childhood dream to become a hunter. He also shares that his greatest challenge was failing the Academy's entrance exam twice, but he never gave up and used those failures as motivation to continue training. A clip of Han Yeol thrusting his sword through a target plays, as he recounts his story of hard work. Han Yeol mentions that he learned to analyze his weaknesses and work on them, attributing his success to persistence and indomitable resolve. As Dojun watches the episode on his phone, Changhyeon asks if the interviews have already been broadcast. Both are surprised by how quickly the episode was released after filming. Changhyeon then asks about the reviews. Dojun responds that while some viewers find Han Yeol's answers too robotic, they appreciate his humble demeanor. Meanwhile, Dojun shows Changhyeon his own clip, suggesting that his responses were a bit unexpected. Despite the mixed reviews, Changhyeon smiles as he watches his segment. Dojun and Changhyeon watch Changhyeon's egoistic answers to the interview questions together. Dojun laughs while showing Changhyeon the comparison between Han Yeol's and his own responses. However, when Changhyeon hears that neither of them considers any of the other hunters a rival, it strikes a chord within him. He turns Dojun's phone off and urges him to start practicing, despite Dojun's desire to watch the survival game segment. Changhyeon rushes toward the leg press machines, advising Dojun to catch the rerun later. As Changhyeon repeatedly performs leg exercises, Dojun asks him why he is focusing so much on his legs in particular. As Changhyeon continues performing his leg presses without a break, he asks Dojun about his role as a ranged fighter. He then questions Dojun about which attributes would be most important for him in combat. Dojun answers with high damage potential, but Changhyeon adds that mobility is key. He further comments that Han Yeol and other elite fighters possess exceptional mobility, which presents a significant obstacle for ranged fighters like himself. Dojun listens attentively, as Changhyeon emphasizes the importance of mobility for him. An old man nearby, having overheard the conversation, commends Changhyeon's thinking. However, he offers his own perspective, stating that in the Hunters League, ranged hunters are often not the ones who take down foes. Changhyeon wonders about the identity of the old man, but given that he has access to this facility, he certainly can't be an ordinary individual. Changhyeon responds, acknowledging that what the old man said might be true. He explains that teams playing against high-level professionals like Britain's ECG often prioritize targeting ranged fighters first. This focus on ranged fighters influences the tactics of any team, which is why he is concentrating on improving his legs. Gramps repeats Changhyeon's argument, confirming that he mentioned ranged fighters are priority targets. He laughs heartily, appreciating Changhyeon's perspective and finding it quite interesting. Before leaving, he offers Changhyeon a piece of advice. While overconfidence can be beneficial, it can also lead to significant failures. He concludes by saying that he will keep an eye on Changhyeon. After Gramps leaves, Dojun asks Changhyeon who he is, but Changhyeon remains just as clueless. Nonetheless, Gramps' comment about keeping an eye on him fuels Changhyeon's determination to prove himself. The scene shifts to Gramps' office, revealing him to be none other than Ji-yoon Lee, the first-generation hunter chairman of the Hunter Association. He inquires with his assistant about the most important trait for ranged fighters. The assistant initially responded that it would be their support and firepower. However, when Ji-yoon Lee disagrees, the assistant reconsiders and suggests that it may be their accuracy. Gramps Ji-yoon Lee tells the assistant to remain silent. As he closes his eyes, a flood of memories overwhelms him. He recalls a conversation with a friend, a ranged fighter, about whether to prioritize mana training. His friend had emphasized that for a ranged fighter, the most crucial attribute is their legs. He explained that monsters often target ranged fighters first due to their vulnerability in close combat, so the best training focuses on enhancing movement. Despite this advice, Ji-yoon Lee had disagreed at the time, believing otherwise. His friend had remarked that Ji-yoon Lee, being a melee fighter, wouldn't understand. Even though he is late, Changhyeon seems to have convinced Ji-yoon Lee of the importance of mobility for a ranged fighter. Ji-yoon Lee continues to ponder Changhyeon's insights and slams his palm on the table. He admires Changhyeon for considering the international stage despite not yet being part of the Hunter League. Rising from his seat, he walks toward the window, contemplating whether this displays arrogance or confidence. The scene shifts back to Changhyeon, who is examining his stats and notices his growth rate accelerating rapidly compared to before his regression. He wonders if this acceleration is due to his full bloom. For him, full bloom has two main features: acquiring new skills with each achievement and the enhancement of his growth rate. In this life, Changhyeon hasn't yet activated his full bloom skill, but he knows that once he does, it will provide a massive boost to his attributes. Dojin asks Changhyeon what he plans to do after the workout and seeks recommendations for himself. Changhyeon considers it and admits that he doesn't have much to offer, as he doesn't know Dojin well enough yet. An idea quickly strikes Changhyeon, and he proposes a sparring match with Dojin. Dojin agrees enthusiastically, and their sparring session begins. Noticing the blade in Changhyeon's hand, Dojin can't help but ask if Changhyeon also knows how to use a sword. Seeing the sword, Dojin's excitement spikes. If Changhyeon had used a gun, Dojin would have felt overwhelmed, but with a sword, he believes he might have a chance to overpower him. Changhyeon dashes towards Dojin, and their swords clash. Dojin struggles slightly, carefully analyzing Changhyeon's weapon, and noting that it appears to be just an ordinary sword. He wonders if this disparity is a matter of talent. Changhyeon then activates his arcane weapon transmutation skill, converting his ordinary sword into a spear, and prepares for round 2. Changhyeon uses basic yet precise moves to put Dojin on the defensive. He then transmutates his weapon into a great sword and knocks Dojin out. As he stands victorious, Changhyeon asks Dojin for his thoughts on the match. Dojin responds, saying that Changhyeon is just a little better than him. To Dojin's surprise, Changhyeon reveals that he was going easy on him the entire time. Dojin's expression shows he is not sure if Changhyeon is joking, which makes him more concerned. With a worried look, he wonders if he is significantly lacking in talent compared to Changhyeon. Well, Changhyeon may not look it, but if you count his previous age, he's definitely a Gramps. And when it comes to talent, it seems like old grandpa have a knack for having the most of it. Changhyeon charges his sword with mana and points it at Dojin, telling him that his lack of talent is due to being on the wrong track. Using transmutation, he creates a sword identical to Dojin's. Holding up the sword, Changhyeon reminds Dojin of his skills, which include his speed burst ability and his split-second decision-making skill. Considering these factors, Changhyeon calmly states that Dojin's skills and choice of a long sword do not complement each other. Changhyeon then transmutes the sword into a rapier, explaining that it would resonate better with Dojin's skills, allowing him to overwhelm his enemies with quick stabs. Dojin finds this idea intriguing and wonders if he could truly utilize a rapier in that way. As they leave the training grounds, Changhyeon overhears a guy making disparaging comments about him and Dojin. Curious whether the guy witnessed their fight, Changhyeon is more bothered by the fact that the comments have provoked him. Being someone who never overlooks provocations, Changhyeon resolves to address the situation. Changhyeon, fueled by irritation, mocks Jin Seon Kim, questioning whether he could even defeat someone like him, whom he considers a bottom dweller. He challenges Jin Seon to a fight, and Jin Seon, eager to prove himself, quickly accepts. As Changhyeon sizes up Jin Seon, he remembers that Jin Seon tied for 5th with him in the survival battle, recalling that Jin Seon's stats are significantly higher. Recognizing that he might be outmatched in a straight strength contest, Changhyeon decides to bluff. He confidently declares that he won't even need his guns to defeat someone like Jin Si-young. Jin Si-young, who is already brimming with confidence, smirks at Changhyeon's bravado, seemingly unfazed by the challenge. The stage is set for an intense showdown as the two prepare to clash. The reason for Changhyeon's decision not to use his gun should become evident, considering Jin Si-young stands out as one of the more skilled players among the rookies. With Jin Si-young already aware of Changhyeon's weapon, its effectiveness would be nullified. Despite the unfavorable odds, Changhyeon remains resolute, initiating the first move, which Jin Si-young narrowly avoids at the last moment. Jin Si-young quickly retaliates, hurling two knives towards Changhyeon. Understanding his position as a mid-range fighter, Changhyeon's fundamental strategy involves maintaining relentless pressure to prevent Jin Si-young from mounting a counterattack. As Changhyeon narrowly escapes Jin Si-young's initial attack, Jin Si-young immediately launches another assault, leaving Changhyeon in a precarious situation. Changhyeon barely manages to defend himself, thanks to the aether he acquired through Full Bloom. While Changhyeon focuses on devising a strategy to handle the relentless onslaught, Jin Si-young finds himself equally perplexed, wondering how Changhyeon managed to protect himself and whether he has some hidden advantage. Changhyeon throws a single knife toward Jin Si-young, who smirks, believing it to be an easy target for his telekinesis. However, Changhyeon's all-seeing eye has already anticipated the outcome. He quickly hurls 3 additional knives, only to be surprised when Jin Si-young nearly intercepts all of them. However, with so many targets to manage, Jin Si-young is unable to intercept them all. The final knife, which he cannot completely block, strikes him in the head, declaring Changhyeon as the winner.